Welcome back to the Flag of Punishment. Today we're gonna listen to In the Delight, the fourth track of the album. I'm expecting something delightful today. No, I'm serious though, because based on what happened in the last episodes, based on the setting in general, it's not particularly clear what delightful means in this context. It could be they're turning the tides, they're gaining allies, or they're winning a small victory. Yeah, I don't know what to expect. So let's just get to it. Boah, dude, those intros though. I'm sorry for stopping all the time with those songs, but did you hear that, man? Okay, we had this really Western sounding European kind melody in the beginning, neoclassical, of course, and it had a bit of a calming vibe, like the general sound of everything wasn't necessarily calming or something. It was rather the nature of the melody itself, the composition, I would assume. And then, of course, we're going back to some more heavy stuff with a really cool riff that just did some and then stopped and then that was pretty cool. Like, I didn't expect that at all. So, there's something soothing about this descending. Yeah, it does this. I don't know if it's the circle of fifths thing, neoclassical wise, but just the way it descends in these small steps, these small increments, has something soothing about it in some way. Definitely. And then it's building up. There's something like building hope or something in a way. That keyboard, that doot, 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 like some warning siren or something. What's the word for that? Warning siren doesn't feel right. Alarm siren. So, I wasn't completely off. What? That came completely out of nowhere. Like, why did I never hear of this song? Wow. They went through so much stuff in such little time. That was impressive. We got thrown in a journey atmospherically of many different atmospheres. I don't know where to start. So this melody he's singing at the moment, right? At the moment, it sounds like he is dragging a bit. He's a bit disoriented and he's like pushing towards some kind of finish line, which is in sight in some way, but he still needs to push. He's still a bit dragging and lost. And this is just like the point when his voice goes up, where it gets like, I would say delightful, because that's what the title says. Yeah, it gets brighter, and then the keyboard starts with those arpeggios in the background, which are, I wouldn't say something I've never heard. You know, it's very fantasy soundtrack like. I would assume also very 80s, but I wasn't around in the 80s, so I can't tell for sure. But, you know, the arpeggio per se sounds chaotic, but it's a positive. It's a whirlwind of flower blossoms. It feels a bit like stuff clearing up, opening up, and, you know, there is the open skies. This is kind of what is creating this little chaos. I don't even know what that was supposed to signify, but that sounded really cool. It also reminded me somewhat of some kind of video game soundtrack. I don't know from which game. All I know, which is a little fun fact, I guess, is that Shu once said in an interview that, well, he was asked basically what his inspiration was and if he was inspired by anime. He said he was not inspired by anime, but by video games. So I can totally see that. And especially Japanese video games seem to draw a lot of inspiration by prog metal for some reason. And I think it's very fitting, especially in fantasy settings, of course. It's no surprise to me, but yeah, I think it's still good to know, maybe. And then we got the chorus. I would suppose that's the chorus, which just sounds like open skies, open sea. Like I think that's the idea of delight here. Maybe it's really they have won some kind of a small victory. That should be much more it. And now there is a very clear sense of hope. Yeah, in this part there's just a bit of tension, but it's the sound of the music in general is just so that it almost overshadows it, but it's underlying, it's very subtle. I'm pretty sure that's intentional. That sounds so cool. It's almost like something gripping you, something greater, a greater force just approaching through the air and gripping you in some sense. It's pretty cool. So I think this might have been the first solo where Shu got like quite a bit bluesy, you know. Um, I think that's not a new concept to mix some blues into the solos in these power metal songs, but I think that was the first one where he just went full on in that mode, and it was fitting, of course. It was fitting. It was a fitting setting for that. I don't want to say anything wrong music theory wise because I definitely should know it, but this might be the first song they played in major. I mean, I just because it sounds bright, I would assume it's majorly played in major. At least it's a sound I'm not really used to by Galneryus, to be honest, because this kind of music in general prefers minor, and it totally makes sense why, you know. But this is just a straight out bright, happy song. Okay, I wouldn't say happy. That would be too much. But also much more something like European power metal bands would do. I like that subtle sound of the keyboard. It's not very prominent, despite this being a small solo section, solo part for the keyboard. But I like how it just goes back a bit and almost has the same, is almost on the same level with the chords playing in the background. It's not that prominent here. I like how jumpy Shu's guitar, his phrasing sounds. He does a lot of I don't know what he exactly does. I mean he does this sliding stuff a lot after and before each phrase, or what he also does is like after bends he does this kind of flick thing. But it has always this jumpy, very smooth sound. I really like how clean it sounds also. Yeah, I think that was rather the flick thing he does after a bend. Okay, yeah. I'm hearing some lyrics like "it took so long to find a way." So last episode they talked about that some way is appearing through some light, almost like some light rays through dark clouds in some way, and also like these themes of openness, freedom. I think there was something with spreading out your wings, and it's upward directed. It evokes this, yeah, aesthetic. I would also be interested how this exactly connects chronologically to the battle situation with the dark forces. I love that riff. Yeah, man, that riff was really cool. Also, I don't know if they did that very often with those stops. Like stuff like this. I think I've heard it in some songs, but not as like the main riff of the song. I think I can't remember them doing this. I like this a lot. As you might have noticed, I really enjoyed the tremolo part. I mean, it didn't drive the music in some completely different direction, but it just had a good atmosphere to close off the song. The last part of the chorus ends up a bit more emotional and dramatic. I would say, let's say we have a season of a TV show which ends in a moment of people reuniting, also in a somewhat dramatic way, with like memories of what happened during the season, and what the pains were they all went through, and then it climaxes in this tremolo part. This is where the credits roll. This is the part where the credits roll, you know? It gives it a grand feeling. Yeah. So the first tremolo iteration gave it back the feeling that, well, there is this grand story behind, and it's still in the background. And the second iteration with the double bass coming in, it sounded more active. So I would assume it's more like, okay, the first iteration was this call for adventure, and the second was the answer. It was, okay, now we're continuing our journey. Yeah, pretty cool song. So far, I have to say, it's a pretty cool album, and it has a bit of variety. It's not just, up until this song, it didn't feel all that formulaic. It just happens sometimes that stuff gets a bit repetitive or isn't that original, but there's still a lot of energy, and they make sure to put a lot of variety into it. Until now, at least. I don't know how it continues. And of course, what would a good old episode of this series be without looking at the lyrics? You've got it tough and you get tired. No way to run away and no one can exit. But now we see the light. We feel so now. Almighty steel will burn our hearts. Hiding the treasure of the world, we'll get the glorious. It's took so long to find the way. Fly high, that's the chorus by the way. Fly high, spreading your wings into the field of war and pain. Someday we'll face the end of childhood age. Now rain is over, we'll be smiling in the delight. Okay, so they're quite clearly still in the battle. They're still talking about the battle. I'm still not quite sure where exactly they are physically, and also like in which part of the battle they are now. On through the night we will go on. No one can change our mind. We'll fight till the end. The world will have to come. There is no war. Almighty steel will keep the faith. Okay, what this all sounds to me like, okay, is in the last song, in the last episode, Beyond the Ground, where there was this line where they kind of found a vision which they can follow, hope essentially, something guiding their way, what they call the glorious. I would be very interested in what the Japanese word for that was, because yeah, as I've said a lot of times, I'm pretty sure they've written this in Japanese originally. That would be interesting, but never mind. This is the object here, which is the source of their strength. That might be the thing. They are so enthusiastic despite still fighting this battle, which was presented pretty well, for example, by the riff, this heavy riff with the stops. Um, I just looked up what tough is. Is this like, is this something you say in English, or is tough literally what I found, which is some kind of stones from volcanoes in some way? Yeah, well, no matter what, I think this line in some way, especially with the "you get tired," I think where it points at is what I assumed the melody of the verse sounded like. This is kind of, yeah, it's dragging a bit. It's a bit, we have to push through. It's a bit straining, but it's okay. We're under bright skies. We got the sun in our backs or something. Yeah, a bit of Sisyphus thing, rolling up the boulder on top of the hill. No way to run away, no one can exit. But now we see the light. That's the thing where it's introduced. Yeah, but it's okay. We see the light. We know where to go. Almighty steel will burn our hearts, hiding the treasure of the world. I don't know what that is supposed to mean. We'll get the glorious. It took so long to find the way. Yeah, but they found it. In the calmness of the night. And then the chorus, of course, fly high, spreading your wings. This is like really positive. We're like opening up, unfolding, we're giving it all. You would assume fly high, spreading your wings. As I said, the chorus musically sounds like everything is fine and happy, but they're still in this deadly battle. It's just their spirit has changed everything. Now they can go all in, into the field of war and pain. Someday we'll face the end of childhood age. Which is also, yeah, I think on two levels interesting. First of all, the way I pictured it, and I think kind of is somewhat how it's imagined here, when the story began. You know, first of all, there was just chaos, and then kind of the chaos broke up. Kind of some creation myth material here. The chaos broke up into several parts. There was the rebels, and there was like the remaining darkness or something, and now they're fighting one another. And this was the point when they were born. This is, I think, the interpretation within the bounds of the story per se. It could also mean, if you just like see it in more human terms, that we can just assume who's fighting there. Probably mostly young men, I would assume. And, you know, just because you're technically an adult, because you're of a certain age, doesn't necessarily mean that you are actually mature enough to be an adult. And I think a battle like this, or generally like a period in your life where you really struggled through something, kind of forms your character into something more mature. And so we don't have to look at this from a really abstract perspective. It also makes sense just from this point of view. Now rain is over, we'll be smiling in delight. Yeah, so the storm we clearly had in Struggle for the Freedom Flag seems now to be over. It's still the same battle, but something has changed from within. Yet it is still night, which is interesting because the song sounds to me like day. And I think in their hearts it might feel like day, but it's still night. No one can change our mind, we'll fight till the end. The world will have to come. There is no war. Almighty steel will keep the faith. So this is speculation. There is no war. The world will have to come probably means that they are so enthusiastic and they are so absolutely convinced of their vision that it doesn't feel like work or pain or suffering anymore. They're just doing their thing, and it's absolutely clear that they will win. And then we have a lot of repetition of the chorus. I think that's also maybe a point to recognize, because I think in Beyond the Ground, for example, there was only the chorus probably only was sung twice, I would assume. At least I know the first verse and the second verse played in sequence without a chorus in between. So that was pretty noticeable. So I think that's also structurally a point that's made in some way. So the emphasis is really much on this, you know? All of that other stuff in the verse and stuff gives us some kind of context, but it's pretty much about this clear skies, spreading your wings stuff. And of course, it's like a mantra, you know, it's like a mantra you kind of have to grip tightly, because otherwise it might slip away. And that would be bad, I guess, in this situation. Yeah, and that's pretty much all I have to say about this, I guess. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please let me know what you think about the song. Or about the lyrics. I mean, I think, you know, there's a lot of room for interpretation, especially in the last episodes. I don't know, I think that's pretty cool. So please share your thoughts on this, and yeah, I hope we'll meet again in the next episode. See ya.